Hi, my name's Phil. I'd like to talk about politics, and in this video I'd like to pick up on the vaccine row, the worst effects of which of course have now been diffused, to discuss an excellent point I saw made about misconceptions on both sides of the EU-UK divide and consider how they could impact our relations in the near future. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So really, it's going to be like a bit of a sandwich, this. It's inevitably going to start off with the update. As I said when I discussed the vaccine row yesterday, there's bound to be updates, and were there updates? But it's really more about the lesson, whether the EU and the UK will learn lessons from each other, where they've got things wrong, and develop the stronger relationship that is in both of our interests, or consider to misconstrue and keep making terrible mistakes that continue to divide us. Now, as I said, it's not really going to be a full extension of my discussion on the vaccine row itself. I mean, I talked about that yesterday. Everything I said yesterday is still the case today, other than to add in, of course, then there was the whole Article 16 row blow up. Now, that row blew up after I produced the video, and it was removed as a threat before the video was published. I did actually talk about in the video about the threat to block exports. Of course, I didn't know they were going to try and use Article 16 of the withdrawal agreement to do so. What happened is, obviously, someone's had a rush of blood and thought, right, we're going to do this thing. It's alarmed a lot of people. It's alarmed a lot of people in the EU. The fact that it alarmed people in the UK is largely irrelevant. Calmer heads interceded, and the whole thing was dropped in a matter of hours, as you were. It will have ramifications, though, because this is the thing. It's a little bit like when senior civil servants in the UK and former civil servants were saying that when Boris Johnson threatened to breach the withdrawal agreement himself last year, the fact that he U-turned on it, and you'll notice he didn't U-turn on that a few hours later. That took a few months for him to climb down, but he did climb down. But it was said that the damage would still be done because the threat was there. The same thing inevitably could happen with the EU as well. But it led on to quite an interesting statement, I thought, which is accredited to an Alan Beattie, who sometimes writes for the Financial Times. And I can't actually find the full article. It was clipped as you see it, so that's what I'm going to read out. But it alludes to misunderstandings on the part of the UK as to the strengths and weaknesses of the EU, as well as vice versa. I'm going to read the section out in full and pick out the key bits of interest for me. So it goes: some Brexiters thought that the EU would be a pushover in the withdrawal talks because they'd seen it flailing around hopelessly in the Eurozone debt and migration crises. They failed to spot the difference between squabbling member states trying to invent policy during an emergency and the European Commission's finest ruthlessly exercising long practice skills and stratagems in an area of established competency. Result: the EU took the UK apart in negotiations, and those Brexiters are left whinging and mewling about the unfairness. Looking the other way, some EU types seem to think that because it made such a hash of Brexit and is something called Anglo-Saxon, though what those two Germanic tribes from the Dark Ages have to do this we can't imagine, the UK can't get anything done. This fails to distinguish between the reality-challenged politicians running the Brexit talks and the competent and centralised government, civil service and public health operation doing the vaccination programme. Result: what looks like a weird sense of indignation from some on the EU side that the Brits' superior inoculation record must somehow involve cheating. Obviously, if the two sides were prepared to learn from each other, everyone would be better off. I guess we'll have to watch the rest of the episodes to see if that happens. No spoilers, please. See, what you've basically got here broken down, this is what the person is saying, whether you agree or disagree. I'm minded to agree. Politicians make mistakes. When you look at either the EU or the UK making mistakes, who is it making those mistakes? Politicians. Especially when they're faced with a fast-moving, unexpected emergency. However, seasoned civil servants in both the UK and the EU can actually work very efficiently because they've had decades of experience and ways to consider the best ways of working, and they can manage very complex operations very well, especially when it's for something that wasn't at all unexpected. But there's another take from this as well. And because that, I mean, that's the, just before I go on to this, just to highlight again that vaccine thing, because all the Johnson supporters, who are mostly Brexit supporters, are trying to go, oh, we're doing really well with vaccinations. Yeah, and we did really badly with test and trace. We did really bad with PPE procurement last year. Why is that? Why are we doing this thing well and the other things badly? We did the other things badly because we farmed it out to unsuitable private companies. The vaccination is being rolled out by the entirely suitable and very well practiced NHS. That being said, there are things still going wrong with it. We have, for example, we are destroying doses of vaccines rather than giving them to NHS staff. Because we've told some 90-year-olds to go 100 miles for their inoculation, they've not been able to go. And NHS have said, well, can we give second doses to our staff then, our frontline staff, rather than waste these doses? And the government have said, no, you destroy them. That's the politicians interfering. So the elements of our vaccination programme working well are the ones run by the NHS, who are well practiced in vaccinations, and the bits that are still going badly, that's because of government interference. Again, politicians stupid, civil servants know what they're doing. But the other take home from this, because you've got a lot of Brexiteers going, oh, we were right here. This just demonstrates how we were right to leave the evil EU. And in actual fact, you're demonstrating the opposite. Absolutely the opposite. One, this would not have been possible if we were still EU members. No threat would have been possible like this. Some have tried to say, but we'd be behind on the vaccinations. We're 3 months ahead. If we'd have stayed in the EU, we wouldn't have been. This isn't true. We began our programme whilst we were following all the same rules as full EU members. The transition period, we behaved as if we were members, except we got no say in anything, but we had to follow all the rules. In addition, other EU countries, France, Germany, Italy, all of them, they've got their own healthcare systems and they manage their own healthcare procurement for them, or pharmaceutical procurement. They chose to lump together in the EU procurement, which we were also invited to, because they saw it as their best interest. Normally, when they deal with their own procurement, it's for their own particular needs. They favour different drugs, or they'll need different amounts of them, and they want them at different times or different supplies. They might want to choose different supplies. So they don't tend to do that EU-wide. But this was, we need vaccines. We need all the vaccines we can get. So they just went in with the whole EU, the superior buying power, all the rest of it. We could have chosen to do the same. We could have also chosen to do exactly what we did choose to do as members. So could any EU country. The second thing it shows, another thing, is that nobody's sticking up for Britain. We're on our own here. It was wrong of the EU to invoke Article 16 like this, just as it was wrong for the UK to have tried to do exactly the same thing 2 weeks ago. The difference is that the EU U-turned immediately because of internal pressure. In other words, the EU system sort of worked. Basically, someone made an executive decision without going to full committee. They thought, we need an immediate decision. Rush of blood, made that decision, wrong decision. Then the wider committee started to say things and went, no. This is not a wise decision. And U-turned immediately because of internal pressure. Now, the UK also U-turned on the idea of messing about like this, but that was because of external pressure. Pressure from the EU, pressure from the United States. When the EU decides to do something, right or wrong, it's got nothing to do with international politics, by the way. We talk about the right thing to do and the wrong thing to do, but it's all rubbish. International politics is all about might makes right. When the EU decides to do something right or wrong, there isn't really anyone outside the EU strong enough to stop them. And as I've already said, if we were inside the EU, we actually had a lot of say. In some cases, power of veto. It's a bit like the Turkey issue. Boris Johnson tried to say, if we stay in the EU, we're going to have, there was like 70 odd million Turks all ready to flood Britain. Behave yourself. But here's the thing. I mean, first of all, Turkey isn't a member of the EU and it's not close to becoming a member of the EU. But here's the thing. Now that we've left the EU, actually, there's nothing we can do about that. If Turkey did join the EU, it will have nothing to do with us. We won't even be consulted. If we'd have still been in the EU, we could have just said no. That's not a majority vote. That's just a single member says no. No, it is. And the thing is, like, so when someone foolishly tried to invoke Article 16 of the EU Commission for those few hours, both the UK and the Irish governments complained. It was the Irish government complaint that caused the change. Possibly also cooler heads involved in the Commission as well, but certainly not pressure from Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson was also concerned. Would von der Leyen have paid a blind bit of attention to him? I don't think so. He has no pressure to apply on the EU. What would he do? The EU is king of the European jungle. Whether the gammons like it or not, that's where we live. We used to be a senior member of the Pride, now we're not part of anything. If a dispute arises between the EU and the UK, and there will be plenty, and this is one sort of technically, although as I say it's more properly a dispute between the EU and AstraZeneca, a private company. But if a dispute between the EU Commission and the UK government emerges, and it will inevitably, both sides will test the boundaries at various points, the UK has no allies. So unless the EU Commission does what they did, night before last now, and does something that actually harms one of its own member states, then there'll be no recourse. And when these issues arise, they are going to be embarrassing for the UK more often than for the EU. This is embarrassing for the EU, but the reason is the UK has to avoid issues because of any conflicts at all. A canny general only fights battles they can win. We can't win any battles. But how to avoid conflicts when there isn't an amicable working relationship between the UK government and the EU Commission? That is the tricky question. That is why it's in our interest to make sure that relations with the EU get on a much better footing, because otherwise issues will come to the fore when ordinarily they could be dealt with at the diplomatic level before it ever became newsworthy. That's not now going to happen. That's my worry with this. That's what this highlights. Yes, it's deeply embarrassing for the EU, but the Brexiteers have got nothing to crow about because it actually exposes our weakness to conflict with the EU. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.